Oh, there's nothing like working under pressure. Come on, internets, you can do it. Our house in Hampton, we had FiOS, which was super duper fast. We moved out to Williamsburg and we live sort of out of a lot of population, and there is no underground internets here. And it's going to be years before we get it, they said. So if I freeze up, know that I'm going to come back. It just takes me a minute. Thank you so much for joining me and dealing with my internet issues. That's what happens sometimes when you're live. Please, internet, please work today. I froze up on Facebook this morning and we froze up. So if you're coming back, sorry for all of the confusion. Patty, you said hello in the Mrs. Doubtfire voice. I can hear that in my head. Good morning, everybody. So we're going to start all over. I have the measurements for today's block up on the screen and an example of what the block's going to look like. Know that you can substitute your own colors for the colors that I'm showing on the screen. Also, many of you gave me some really great feedback yesterday. At the end of this live, I'm going to put on the screen all of the measurements for tomorrow's block so that you have a whole day to prepare your pieces for tomorrow. So that was a great idea. I'll share that at the end of this video. I'm hoping we don't freeze up today. Come on, internets. You can do it. Are you making blocks for a project or just showing how to make certain blocks? Yes, we're just making traditional quilt blocks. My goal during this series, since you did not catch the other two, the other two were up on my channel and you can watch them whenever you want. My goal during this series is to really have some social time with you. And we're going to do that by creating traditional quilt blocks together. If you're looking for a tutorial that's really quick and going to get you sewing a block really fast and on your way to making your quilt, this is probably not the tutorial to watch because we're going to sew these real live time together. But yes, these tutorials and time is really just so we can socialize during all of us being in the house. That's what we're doing. Yes, I'm back. Hello. Is there a pattern? There is not a written pattern for this block, but I'm going to show you how to make it. And on the screen right now, you see what this block is going to look like. Here in a minute, I'm going to take that down. But you can always take a screenshot with your cell phone, or you can come back and watch this on the replay and pause the screen. And then you can take some graph paper and draw out your own blocks and pinwheels block. This will finish at 12.5 by 12.5 inches today, but if you sew it in your quilt, it's a 12-inch quilt block. We're going to be making some half square triangles here in just a second. I'm going to leave the measurements on the screen and chit chat with you for just a minute in case you want to sew with me live. Tomorrow it'll be so much easier because I'm going to give you those measurements for tomorrow's block at the end of this video. Michelle, you might be able to find a written pattern for this block. I do not know the original creator for this block, and I do not know how long ago this block was made, but there might be a written pattern for this block. I think this block would be beautiful, repeated to make a quilt from just this one block. And it's definitely easier and less pieces than yesterday's block. Hi, Sue. Good morning. Ella, you're on your way to Joanne Fabrics. Safe travels. Be safe. I don't know if our Joann Fabrics is open. Hopefully yours is. Good morning, everybody. So, all right, I'm going to take this off of the screen and I'm going to show you the fabrics that I'm using today. We're still streaming? Yes, thank you, Lord. Let's take that off the screen. I'll show you my work table here. These are my fabrics. I am using, give me 1 second. Thank you everybody who sent me a message on the Facebooks letting me know my live stream was frozen. These are my fabrics for today. The red is a shirt that I've cut up from the Goodwills. The blue is a shirt that I've cut up from the Goodwills. And the beige fabric is a leftover neutral fabric for me from Happiness is Homemade, the mystery quilt that we did together. So I'm recycling today and pulling out of my stash and cutting up shirts. So these are my pieces. I'll leave that up on the screen for a second. Do you do anything special to flatten the middle seam where all half square triangles come together? Jean, I'm a fan of pressing my seams to one side or the other. Pressing. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? I'm back. Oh, this is going to be a frustrating day, y'all. Oh, this is going to be a frustrating day. Y'all please be patient with me. That's one of the things about going live is it's so unpredictable. I'm back. Please be patient with me and my slow internet. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm going to go back. I think there were 3 questions. You can press your seams open. That flattens your seams. And there's a way to spin your seams. I do not know. I don't know when I cut off. I cannot think of who made those videos, but there's a way you can spin your middle seams. I know Bonnie Hunter has talked about this. I don't know if she has a video about it, but oh my goodness, the internet today. Y'all be patient with me. I'm trying to pay attention to see when that spinning wheel comes up so I know to stop talking. Hopefully y'all stick with me through this. We're going to go ahead and get started just in case I freeze up again. So on the screen you see here's my pieces. These blocks are the 3.5 by 3.5 inch pieces. If you came in after I showed all the measurements on the screen, you can watch the replay. I do put these measurements on the screen. So we have 4 neutral 3.5 by 3.5. For blue, you can use whatever color you want. 3.5 by 3.5. We're going to put those off to the side for a second. I do realize that you won't be able to see my sewing machine exactly, but I really feel like, especially if you're new, it's more important to see what we do with these pieces. You're going to sew all of these pieces with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now here's my red. You'll cut these blocks 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. They're both the same size. Let's take the lighter one. We're going to flip it over And we're going to draw a line because we're going to be making some half square triangles. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to draw a line from corner to corner. I'm using a heat erasing pen. You could use a pencil, something that you can see really well. Then we're going to flip it around and do the exact same thing, corner to corner, the opposite direction. I'm hoping you can see that. My pen is starting to run out. All right. You're going to give me a hard time too? I'm going to use a marker. There we go. All right, so once you have your lines drawn from corner to corner, this is going to be our guide. We're going to align this drawn line on our fabric to the right side of our presser foot. We're actually going to be sewing a 1/4 inch on the left side of each one of these seams. We're going to be doing that twice. Oh, come on, internet. All right, that wasn't that long this time. We're going to sew 4 seams on both sides of this line, okay? And I'm going to use 2 pins to hold this together. So we're marking on the back side of our pretty fabric. And we're going to put pretty sides together and pin. We have 3 questions. I'm scared to go back through the questions because I want to get this block sewn. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them, but I'm going to keep on keeping on for a second while we're going because I don't trust this internet. Y'all feel free to have conversation because this is a social hour for us all who are cooped up. Feel free to have conversations. I'm going to go sew these 4 seams. I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a second. But while I'm doing that, if you want to just chit chat, you might be sewing along with me. If you're just here watching, what's a good question? Let's see. What is your most favorite tool that you use in your studio? I'm going to go sew these seams and then press them. Make sure we're not frozen up. My goodness. So there's our first seam. It is a 1/4 inch away from this middle line. I'm going to turn it around and now sew a 1/4 inch away from the line on the other side. I do not trust this internet today, y'all. So there's the first 2 seams. both a 1/4 inch away from that middle line. Now I'm going to repeat the process in the other direction. All right, y'all, here we go. Here's our first 4 seams for this block. Looks like we're still going. Thank you. I'm going to remove these pins and give this a press. I got to warm up my iron because it's been on shut down for a second. Let's let that warm up. So there's my first 4 seams. I'm going to give this a press real quick just to flatten this back out and set those seams. And then we're going to cut it apart. We're going to make 4 cuts. We're going to cut the diagonal from corner to corner, and then we're going to cut the block in half, and that's going to give us our 8 half square triangles. Let me bring up this because it spins and makes it so much easier. Okie doke, all nice and flat, pressed down. Now we're ready to go ahead and make our 4 cuts. Let's see, let's line this up. Hopefully it spins without hitting anything. We're going to cut the first on the diagonal. I do not like using this ruler for cutting, just letting you know, but my other ruler will not fit in the picture. All right, there's our first 2 cuts. Let's cut it in half. And let me grab that other ruler. Patient with me today. Thank you so much. This is the only cutting we're going to have to do after our block, after we cut out our pieces. We're going to cut that block right in the middle. We're going to turn it around and make 1 more cut. We're still going? Yes. So now we have 8 half square triangles. I'm going to take this to the pressing board and I'm going to press these to the darker side. Okay? So go press your 8 half square triangles. Pressing, pressing, I'm almost done. So who all is sewing along live with me? Say I am if you're sewing this block live with me today. All right, let me see because I'm not seeing comments. Give me just a second. Here's my half square triangles. Do you square up after making your half square triangles? Nope, I'm not squaring these up. I am going to. Sorry, I've missed questions because my comments froze. So just letting you know, I'm going to have to go through. I don't square them up. The measurements I gave you, mine are a little bit wonky, but they should be 3.5 by 3.5. Mine's a little wonky, but that's all right. You could square up your half square triangles if you want to make them exactly perfect. I'm just going with the flow. I'm going to take a second though. Where's my good scissors? And trim these little dog ears off. Could you tell how you prep your Goodwill shirts? I wash them. That's the first thing I do. I wash them really good. And then I have a video on my channel that shows you how I cut apart my Goodwill shirts to repurpose the fabric. And you'll have to go through my videos. It's a patchwork mug rug video made with clothing. And in the beginning of that video, I show how I debone the shirts, but there's lots of other tutorials here on YouTube as well. That's just how I do it. But you get lots and lots of reusable fabric from a button front shirt. And these shirts were in excellent condition. They are cotton shirts, the ones I'm working with today. And I have not put any interfacing on the back. I did starch them a little bit when I pressed them. And yeah, they handle really well. If you're using an old shirt that's been worn a lot, it probably wouldn't hurt to put some fusible interfacing on the back side of your shirts before you cut apart your pieces. Hey Chantel, I think Vicki types in all caps because she has a hard time seeing. I see her on a lot of other channels and chats, and I think she has a hard time seeing, so she types in caps. I know that's Miss Vicki. I'm closing my cutter. There you go. We actually don't even need that anymore. So here's my half square triangles. I'm so pleased that we're still streaming. Whew, thank you. I'm going to go through and just check to see if there's any more questions really quick. The other channels are buffering too, Vicki. That's nice to know that it's not just me. Thank you. All right, so here's our pieces for our blocks and pinwheels block. Let's lay this block out together. I'm going to take one of the blue blocks, see it on my screen here. We're going to put that in a corner. We're going to take one of our half square triangles and we're going to put it just like this. We're going to take one of our solid beige blocks and line that right up there. And then we're going to put a blue block in the other corner. So that's our first row. The second row, we're starting off with a solid beige block. We're going to bring in another half square triangle, and we're going to line it up just like this. We're going to bring in another half square triangle and line it up just like this. And one more half square triangle, and it goes just like this. Coming down to the third row, we're going to start with a half square triangle. We're bringing in one more, and it goes just like this. A third half square triangle that goes like this, and then a solid beige block. Is it all going to fit in the screen? Now let's move this up just a little bit. Then we have the solid blue. We have a solid beige. We have our last half square triangle and a solid blue. So at this point, I'm going to leave this up on the screen for just a second so that you can see what our pieces look like now. This is the layout for our block. And I'm going to give you just a minute, if you're sewing with me, to lay this out, because I'm not in any rush today, as long as the internet cooperates. I do think, though, my comments are freezing up, so if I'm missing questions, y'all, I'm really sorry. Just going to leave that up on the screen for a minute and come back to the chat to see if what all I've missed. All right, so to finish this block up, y'all, it is super duper easy. I'm going to chain piece mine, okay? So let's do that. I'm going to take the second block and flip it right over. The second block, flip it over. The second block, flip it over. The second block, and flip it over. I'm going to leave this right on the screen. I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance each one of these blocks right on the right side of the block. So let's go ahead and do that. You'll see my pieces start to disappear as I bring them over to the sewing machine. I know you cannot see my sewing machine. I can't fit everything in the camera. We're sewing the third one. And now we're bringing this fourth one over. So here's my chain pieces. I'm just going to leave them like that for a second. I'm going to go ahead, yeah, we'll leave them just like that. I'm going to chain piece these as well. So let's flip this last row onto the third row. Pretty sides together. We're going to start with this one. We'll bring in the next one. We'll bring in the third one. Oh goodness, why? Having a technical difficulty, y'all. Let me get this machine rethreaded. That's what lives do. They mess me up. They mess me up. They mess me up. Come on, needle threader, you can do it. Thank you. I feel my ears getting red from the stress. There we go. Did we finish that seam? Yes. Let's try this again. Our last block, y'all. All right, we're working through the technical difficulties today. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. See all that mess? All right, so if we open up this, just letting y'all know the comments are frozen on my screen. So I'm not seeing questions or comments. But I see we're still going, so I'm going to go with it, and maybe I can unfreeze my comments at the end. And if you have questions, just letting you know, I'm going to take them at the end. So if we open up our rows just like this, this is where we are. I'm going to flip this right over, right over. Let's see if I can manage to do that. I'm going to separate them because I can't do that. I don't need any extra added stress in my life today. Let's just separate those rows. There we go. That'll be easier for me. I have not pressed any of these blocks yet. We're taking over the second row. We're bringing over this third row now. And the fourth row. It looks like we're still going. We're still going. Yes, okay. Again, just letting y'all know my comments are frozen. I'll try to unfreeze them as soon as we're done with this block. So here are our rows. I'm going to separate them and then give them a quick press, okay? And I know that you cannot see my pressing board either, but here's what I'm going to do. I like to press my seams to one direction. I'm going to press all my seams for this block to the left, all the seams for this block to the right, left and right, and that's going to enable me to interlock those seams and nest those seams, and hopefully we'll see it'll give me pretty matching points, right? So let me go press these seams. So those seams are going to the left. These seams are going to go to the right. These seams are going to go to the left. And these seams are going to go to the right. Now we have, make sure we're all in the picture here. We have 1, 2, 3 seams left to sew to complete this block. We're going to sew this together, and we're going to flip this one up onto that row. I'm going to sew these 2 seams. I really hope y'all are having good conversation because this is supposed to be social, right? Or sewing time together. You can nest those seams up. Now we're pulling over this last row. So there's our 2 seams. I'm going to press these open real quick. Do you see what I did? Oh my goodness, why? The funny thing is, I knew I was nesting my seams and they were not nested when I was sewing them together. I knew I should have stopped. Look what I did. Oh my goodness. It's one of those days. Who else has done that? Who else has done that? I don't want to have to pick that off altogether. All right, we're not picking that off. I'm going to pick it off camera. So yours should look different than this. Yours should look different than this. Yours should look different than this. When I'm done, I'm gonna take this apart and I'm gonna change the thumbnail anyway. That's what I do after our lives. I'm gonna change the thumbnail and show you the finished block. Let me show you what it actually should look like. That's what it should look like. I flipped 2 of my rows the wrong direction. If y'all know I mess up in all my videos. I don't even edit them out sometimes. Just letting you know that nobody is perfect. Maybe you have felt frustrated because you've done the same exact thing. Just letting you know I do not see any comments going through the screen. Today's just one of those days. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. I see we're still streaming, but I don't see any chat. I cannot connect to the chat. If you're still with me, thank you for sticking with me. To finish this block, you'll sew this 1 seam, right? Yours hopefully will look a lot different than mine. If you sew your rows together in the right way, you'll know it. It won't look like this. You'll have 1 seam left to sew right there. You'll bring that to the sewing machine and sew that, and then press that. Again, I'm going to put my pretty version of this block up as soon as we're done, and I do some seam ripping. Resew these blocks, give it a press, and I will update the thumbnail of this video to show you what my fabrics look like in the right direction. So before I go, I do want to put up oh goodness, it's going to be one of those days. I do want to put up on the screen what tomorrow's block is going to look like, and we'll see what kind of mess we can make tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing the traditional churn dash block. So I'm going to put up on the screen, I'm going to leave that there for a minute, and if it goes away before you've written that down, when this video posts, it takes a minute for the videos to process before you can watch them again. So when this video disappears, that's why YouTube has a processing time. They have to process the video. It will come back on my channel, so just keep checking, and you can skip to the end and write down your stuff for tomorrow. Lord, please let me have a better day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Let's have a good day. And it really stinks that I cannot see your comments. Chantel says she sent me a message saying there's a problem with server popped up often. There's an internal error encountered when I tried to comment. The chats stopped showing around an hour. You're here. All right, so if you've been unable to chat, comment down below when this video posts. Let me know your questions there. Miss Vicky, I see your message. I see your pictures of all your snow too. I can't read all those messages because we're still live, and that distracts me for a second, but I will come back to your message. Just letting you know I do see it, okay? And I love you, Miss Vicky. All right, so if you mess up sewing your rows in the wrong way, it's okay. Pick them apart, swap them around the other way, and sew them together. That's what I'm going to do when we end this live. I'm so sorry this live stream is messed up. Thank you so much for being patient with me. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing tomorrow. Hopefully everything will go smooth and we can actually talk in real life. Comment when you can come back down in the comment section. And I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope your day goes better than mine is going. I hope it goes better than my morning has been going. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope, really, to be honest, I hope you got a good laugh out of my mess up. I hope that this was a social time for you so that if you're home by yourself and you haven't been able to socialize with your friends and your family, that this has brought some sunshine to your day. That's my whole purpose in doing these live streams. Even with all the difficulty I have, it's okay to laugh at yourself, right? I love you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.